We are back, baby! America is back! God, it feels good. It's been called 306 to whatever the hell else. It doesn't matter. Vice President Biden will now be President Biden. Kamala Harris will be Vice President Harris. Yeah! I didn't even bother to make the green screen go. I know I'm loud. What's loud? I'm being loud? I'm always loud. I'm happy. It's a great day in America, ladies and gentlemen. We are back. Wow, I've got a little thing going on here with all the screens. I don't know what the hell's happening. Let me make some adjustments here, kids. We have got all kinds of things going on with the screen. I wonder, let's see, hold on. We're going to change this. We're going to change it a little bit. Let's see what happens. Yeah, let's do that. There we go. My screen is really green. Yeah, I know. I don't know why it decided it's not going to do this. Welcome, everyone, to the live stream. I'm going to correct something here. Give me just 1 second to do it. I think I can do it. What should we do? Should we do... Yeah, you know what? We're ready for this again. Let's see if it works. And we'll go up here, and we will do this. And boom. And we're good. America's back. The flag is back. It just feels good. It just feels... Welcome, everyone. This is the live stream. I am your host, your KevinlyFather, Kevin Williams. Trump is about to give a completely diluted speech in the Rose Garden, so we'll watch along with that. Let's go live here and see what's going on. Usually Fox is one to sit there with the coverage. Let me put them in your ear as well.
Joe Biden can get access to intelligence briefings, so he can get access to the resources that the transition's supposed to be supplying. Yeah, so and that he could begin to vet the 4,000 future employees he's going to need in the federal government.
Hold on, let's go instead to...
I do want to get you on stimulus talks here. I'm curious,
here.
Senator Gillibrand, you know, of course, your party was...
And
office.
That comes up.
You know, it's one.
There we go. You know what? Fox is going to cover the Rose Garden speech for sure. So let's go there instead. We're going to stay on Fox. We'll keep it quiet for a second here. Good to see everybody.
Campaign's perspective.
Welcome. Trump will probably be quite late for the speech today. That's no surprise. He got shellacked, in his own words. Shellacked. It was a landslide. 306 to whatever. I predicted around 310. And I also said that Biden would win the popular vote by more than 4%. You're welcome. Not that it's my responsibility. Last time, I predicted that Trump would take Florida, Ohio, what else did I say? North Carolina, something else. And I said he would just top 300. And he did. But I am not in charge of anything. No one ever asked me in advance, hey, Kevin, who's going to win the election? How do things look out there? I watch. I do some math. Pennsylvania, did I say he would win Pennsylvania? And he did. And this time, our friend Joe Biden won Pennsylvania. It's not over. It's not over by a long shot, kids, in terms of Trump mania. It's going to get worse. He will continue to do whatever he can to stay in power, regardless of what everyone on the news is saying. Bad things will happen. Or, at some point, he could just quit. Like, there's no way to tell. It's Trump. Nothing he says means anything. Right now, he's blaming the Dominion voting machines, which come out of Canada, by the way. So, Dominion, Canada, Queen of England. Canada is the Dominion of Canada. America stole the colonies from England. You see? This is 250-year-old karma just rolling around. Rolling back around. By the way, our friends here in America, we had what's called the Civil War. To the rest of the world, the revolution is the Civil War. And the Civil War, what Americans call the Civil War, that's the second American Civil War. Because America was Britain to begin with. And they had their revolution. No, actually, so when I was a kid and I was living in Africa under the British school system, it was called the Civil War. The revolution was called the Civil War in the British textbooks. I think over time that changed because I noticed when I was living in Africa again under the British system when I was about 13, and they were now calling it the Revolution instead. But I'm not sure those textbooks could have been printed in America. I don't know. But basically, this country was a rebellion. Now, Canada, where Dominion Software comes from, hold on, because I'm not sure that we're actually live here.
They continue to push on. They do.
No, we're not. Okay, let's see if we can catch up.
Medical assistant Pullman.
There we go. I'll make it silent for now. If you guys see something happening on the other screen, yell at me. I should be able to see it right above here. Okay, good. Volume-wise, I think we're okay there. So the president's going to come out and brag about Operation Warp Speed. Keep in mind that there are several vaccines, not just the one vaccine that we've heard about. And the one vaccine that we've heard about that is going to be released did not take any money from the... that was Fox News, not me. Did not take any money from the president. And the glitch that we've heard about with all these Dominion systems, not actually a glitch. It's a human error. What you have to do, it's tremendously complicated too. Like why they make the voting machines so complicated, I don't know. But what happens is you feed information into basically a spreadsheet into these Dominion software machines. And you say, okay, if somebody presses here, or if the ballot that you're reading has this marked, that equates to this person winning. But if you feed the wrong spreadsheet in, then the same mark equates to somebody else winning. And that happened. One of the workers in Michigan in one county fed in the wrong information, and so the wrong information was spat out, including some marks that nobody could recognize. What happened was the 3,000 votes for Trump actually went to Biden. And when they looked at this, they said, well, that doesn't sound right because this is Trump country. And then they attacked Jussie Smollett. And they said, why? What kind of name is Jussie? That's not a name. Your name is Jesse from now on. And why are you wearing a noose around your head? Oh, I made it myself. Okay. It's a complete other tangent. I don't care. I'm happy today. You guys are having your own conversation in the chat room. Hey, if you want to get into the chat room, you can do so from whatever platform you're watching. Or the fastest chat with a delay of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds is the YouTube chat room. So go to youtube.com/KevinlyFather. I lied, it's about 7 seconds. In terms of being fuzzy on YouTube Green Room, it's because you on YouTube, here, I'll show you. Let's go to the YouTube. Hold on. Let me pull up YouTube for us here. Okay, we'll pull up YouTube. And you got to hit the gear down at the bottom and choose. You should be able to get, this is streaming in 720, by the way. So let's pull the actual broadcast up here. We'll make it silent. Otherwise, we're going to get an echo. Oh my God, ads. Here's the deal. I know, Doctor, quiet about the haircut. We're going to get a haircut. If you see ads on something, oh, by the way, this is the Epoch Times, so we're going to get rid of that. Watch the ad on YouTube. You're helping the creator make money if you watch the ads. That being said, when one of my broadcasts starts, if it's a live broadcast, skip the ads and get right into it because, yeah, I'm not fuzzy at all, you liar. Ooh, look at this. Look what we got going on here. Woo! What you do is you go to the gear right here. Hold on, I'll show you. Go to the gear. Oh God, this is hard to do. Here's the gear right there. Go to that gear, go to the quality, and choose 720. And that'll force it to not be as blurry. Although maybe I'm a little blurry today. I don't know. I'm just having a great day so far. There we go. Still no Trump. And that's how you fix things. Hey, if you want to help support this broadcast, and I'm going to continue to do this because Trump's going to continue to be an idiot, and there will be others. There will be Mitches. There's a new QAnon congressperson. Matt Gaetz isn't going anywhere. They're all over the place. And Trump is going to get his own network. And we might just do a live 24-hour feed on that, although there won't be 24 hours of content. Don Bongano, he'll be on there. Giuliani will have his own show, most likely. It's going to be very entertaining. Producer Rich, we got to talk about t-shirts. So I'll send you a message, or you shoot me a message, or whatever, and we'll figure out what needs to be decided, and we'll get everybody some t-shirts. Hey, if you need a... Never mind. I was just thinking of something, but then I realized, no, it's already spoken for. When are we going to get a live haircut? I don't know, maybe this weekend. What is it, Friday? It's Friday. I'm in love. That is late. Sunday always comes too late. That's when The Cure jumped the shark, by the way, when they wrote Friday, I'm in Love, which is a good song. I enjoy it. Go ahead. But that was the last time you heard from The Cure, because it was not depressing, and people like The Cure for depression. Giuliani, live from the Batcave, would be a great name for his show. Yes, it would. And it would only come on after dark, because sunlight. The 13th, Friday the 13th. It's Friday the 13th. I'm in love. It doesn't work with the cadence. By the way, that reminds me, if you ever get a chance to watch Bo Burnham on Netflix, if you're not familiar with Bo Burnham, watch. Super, super, super duper funny. If you want to see a fantastic movie with one of the best performances by A, a child actor, B, by a person playing a father, what's his name? Josh Hamilton, I think, plays her dad in this movie. See 8th Grade. It's available on the Amazon. 8th Grade is an absolute masterpiece. Bo Burnham wrote it and spent like 200 hours just listening to live streamers, teenage live streamers, and talking to kids so he could understand how they actually talked and what they would say. And even though he wrote the lines, when he was on set directing, he would ask the kids, would you say that? No, what would you say? So it sounds authentic, and it's a beautiful movie. And I think it's Josh Hamilton plays the dad. Does an amazing job. This is apropos of nothing. I think that everyone's been sort of electioned out in terms of news. I don't want to share with you the stats. I don't want to tell you that we had 150,000 new coronavirus cases. And this, congratulations, producer Joanna, on being first. I'd love to give you all that information, but I think you know it right now. The thing is, I've been digging for coronavirus information, but it turned out the day after the election, everybody stopped reporting on it. So I figure we've turned the corner. It's gone. 150,000 new cases. Can I share something with you kids? Canada had its Thanksgiving at the correct time. And I'll explain why, and hopefully I get to the end of the explanation before Trump comes in. Thanksgiving, going back to the days of the Pilgrim, was when you would share the harvest, okay? Here's the deal. The harvest takes place late September, early October, because in much of the country, snow is on the ground by the end of October. So you do your harvest, you bring in your bounty, and you share that harvest, be that with the natives, or be that with your friends, family, whatever. It's sort of become... I have natives in my immediate family, and so kind of had a Thanksgiving built in. So Thanksgiving in Canada is the second Monday in October, which makes so much more sense than having it on a Thursday so that people have to work on Friday. Who thought of that? 1,000 years ago, I decided I would never work for a company that made me work on Thanksgiving Friday. But I did work for a company that paid me like double time that day, and I was like, I will work from home. I didn't know that Jews had their own Thanksgiving. Sukkot? So how am I saying it incorrectly? I don't know. Sukkot? Whatever it is. They get it in September. That's cool. Here's the point of the story, though. Canada had their Thanksgiving this year on October 11th. They had 5 deaths in Canada from coronavirus that day. And people are like, oh, but it's only going to be my immediate family. And, oh, it's, we'll quarantine for a few days. And, oh, no, everybody's healthy and we'll take everyone's temperature. And 5 deaths on Canadian Thanksgiving. yesterday in Canada, 83 deaths. 83, from 5 to 83, and we're just at the beginning of the death cusp, which is 4 to 7 weeks and beyond. But we typically, you've seen the waves. The cases go up. Well, here, we'll do it this way. The cases go up, followed a couple weeks later by hospitalizations, followed after cases, 4 to 7 weeks, the deaths. We're just at the beginning of that 4 to 7 weeks. Is someone at the door? Hello? Kevinly daughter's making noise out there doing something. So right now, hold on, at random said something there, but then I was reading it and it went away. So Charlie Kirk today was tweeting that he was, this is all over social media, not just Charlie Kirk. But dozens of times on Twitter today, I've seen people saying, I'm going to have a big Thanksgiving with all my relatives and the government can't tell me. It's like the government shouldn't have to tell you. It's common sense. People die, and I don't know why the American media is not trumpeting, so to speak, the fact that Canada already had its Thanksgiving, and you can trace hotspot after hotspot after hotspot. I was born in Edmonton. The hospitals in the southern part of Edmonton, it's a city, it's the northernmost metropolis. 1 million people, 1.1 million maybe now. It was 1 million people a few years ago. So there's 1 million people in the city. The hospitals in the south end of the city are having to turn away critical care patients, and turning away in terms of divert them to other hospitals in the northern half of the city. But south of whatever river goes through Edmonton, Saskatchewan River? I don't even, I'm a terrible Edmontonian. I know we have Fort Saskatchewan in Edmonton, which was very confusing to an elementary student. But is it the guys? What river goes through Edmonton? Don't even, somebody fact check that, but don't bother because it's not even important. The bottom line is the hospitals are turning away or diverting critical care patients in Edmonton. And the province as a whole, the province is what you call a state in Canada. And there's only 10 of them instead of 50. 50? Too many. Let's see what... okay, the chat's going too fast for me. It's just, I'm too damn popular, so I'm going to pull up the chat in the other room. Oh, yeah. If you want to contribute to the broadcast, here's what you do. You can PayPal me, you can Venmo me, or if you want to contribute on a regular basis, which is great, go to KevinlyFather.com. You can become a patron there at Patreon. So KevinlyFather.com will get you there. I haven't even updated the death total, the crawl, which is what these words going by me right there. That red number right there, 242,339, that was the number of dead Americans a few days ago. I haven't even updated. Yesterday, I said, you know what? I said we weren't going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this once Warp Speed starts talking. He's now 20 minutes late. We might be a minute behind here. Let me go live, make sure. No. Yeah, in Saskatchewan, you can watch your dog run away for 3 days. Says Cujo in the chat room. That is true. So, you know the old, I don't know if David with Snopes is in here, but you know the old, not the wives, the urban legend about the guy setting a car in cruise control and going in the back to sleep in his motorhome? That's not an urban legend. That actually happened in Saskatchewan. The guy set it in cruise control. These are the prairies, and they go for hours. The highways are just a straight, flat line. And now he didn't actually, I don't think he actually fell asleep. But there is a picture that I remember in the newspaper, could have been faked, I don't know, but this is 30, 40 years ago, of a motorhome sitting in the middle of a field because the guy went in the back to grab something or get something out of his fridge. I don't even know. I don't remember. But he did. He put it in cruise control, and he got up and went to the back. And he was back there for a while, and eventually the motorhome went into a farmer's field in the middle of Saskatchewan somewhere as the Trans-Canada Highway curved slightly. The motorhome just kept going straight. not an urban legend. And if it is, I will deny it the way Trump denies the election till the end of my days. I saw it in a newspaper. There were, by the way, I don't know if they still do that, but there were urban legends that newspapers would perpetuate. There was one, and who knows if they ever happened or not. I'm sure this is on Snopes as well. Let me pull up the YouTubes so I can see your guys' comments. Oh my God, yeah. So Tuberville, the new senator from Alabama, said today there are three branches of government: the House, the Senate, and the executive. Now, for those of you who are non-Americans, that's not accurate. The House and the Senate are one branch. That's the Congress. Okay? That's why it's called the House of Congress and the Senate of Congress. But the House and Senate, that's one branch of government. That's Article 1. Article 2 is the executive. That's the president and everything that he's in charge of. And then Article 3 is the judicial system. Supreme Court, federal courts, etc. So those are three separate but co-equal branches of government, which wasn't really in the Constitution, but it's in the Federalist Papers that they should have jurisdiction. And one of the weird things about the Supreme Court is that it wasn't really decided until Marbury versus Madison that they sort of had any effect over anything. They were put together as a sort of settle arguments between states, if it was state versus state, and that was established early on. These are all random thoughts that pass through my mind as we're waiting for President Trump. Should we check how many are dead? Should we check states? Let's see. David Mickelson says, some people haven't left the branches of the trees they were born in. This is true. And Tuberville's family tree has just, that's it. There's no actual branches. That's an incest joke. Good to see everybody, by the way. Welcome to everyone who's watching who's new. I will not be able to, I have to edit a lot of this out. The beginning thing with landslide. I'll tell you a story. I'll try and finish a sentence here. I'm pretty amped up today. I had a cup of coffee and then I had a cup of decaf. So I am all over the place today, guys. So I edited that video together. Let's watch that video while we're waiting. I'll see if it'll, I can make it play. One moment, please. Let's go. I got to go to this mode. Oh, you know what I can do? I can pull it up right here. Yeah. I put this video earlier. I put this together earlier. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do it this way. Give me a second. I'll show you the first version of the video that I put together, and then I'll show you the second version. And when I put the second version together, I gave myself goosebumps. First off, can I just say that the live version of Landslide by Stevie Nicks, Fleetwood Mac, is an maybe the best acoustic performance of a song ever. And that song is pretty much acoustic to begin with. But the live version of it is what I decided to put behind what I put together here. Let me put it in here. So I did this one first. Waiting. It'll come. Oh. Sorry, kids. We're not going to be able to watch. Here he comes. Let's hear some more.
Access to education and jobs. So I'm hopeful that he will bring together the best and the brightest.
Senator Gillibrand, thank you very much for taking the time. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand,
we had a tremendous,
now the President of the United States.
Very much. Thank you. It's beautiful out here this time of year. In the past 9 months, my administration has initiated the single greatest mobilization in U.S. history, pioneering, developing, and manufacturing therapies. And
no, World War II was a much, much greater mobilization.
Vaccines in record time.
Thank you for the super chat. Dr. Leah, thank you for the super chat. For those of you watching on YouTube, there's a little $sign you can hit down at the bottom. So thanks to Dr. Leah, 5 super chat bucks.
Numbers like nobody's seen before. No medical breakthrough of this scope and magnitude has ever been achieved this rapidly, this
redundant,
quickly, and we're very proud of it, and had tremendous help from the military, generals, admirals, and many of the great people at the White House. Operation Warp Speed is unequaled and unrivaled anywhere in the world, and leaders of other countries have called me to congratulate.
Is his hair gray today? Does he actually have white hair today? Has he not dyed his hair since the election?
Us on what we've been able to do, and we've helped many countries with their ventilators and all of the problems they were having, and I'd like to congratulate everyone involved in this effort. It's been an incredible effort. As a result of Operation Warp Speed, Pfizer announced on Monday that its China...
Pfizer was not in Operation Warp Speed. They received no money from the U.S. government. They still haven't received any money from the U.S. government. The U.S. government, using Operation Warp Speed funds, will buy vaccines from Pfizer if it comes to if the FDA approves it. But Pfizer didn't develop the vaccine in conjunction with Operation Warp Speed.
Virus vaccine is more than 90% effective. This far exceeds any and all expectations. Nobody thought they'd get to that level.
No, that's not true.
And we have others coming, which we think will...
You don't know. You don't have any idea until you're hoping you get 40 plus. 90 is fantastic. But to say that no one thought that was...
will be at equal level, maybe more if that's possible.
It's possible. Sure. We don't know.
In July, my administration reached an agreement with Pfizer to provide $1.95 billion to support the mass manufacturing and distribution of 100 million doses, with the option to purchase a total of 600 million doses shortly thereafter. Our investment will make it possible for the vaccine to be provided by Pfizer free of charge. Pfizer said it wasn't part of Warp Speed, but that turned out to be a unfortunate misrepresentation. They are.
It was not.
Our part. That's why we gave them the $1.95 billion. And
billion?
It was an unfortunate mistake that they made when they said that.
It's not a mistake.
We will work to secure an emergency use authorization, which should be coming down extremely soon.
Extremely soon.
And my administration will then coordinate the distribution of the vaccine, and it will be approved. I think, again, it will be approved very, very quickly, we hope. The average development timeline for the vaccine, including clinical tests and manufacturing, can take 8 to 12 years. Through Operation Warp Speed, we're doing it in less than 1 year. If you had a different administration with different people, what we've done would have taken, in my opinion, 3, 4, 5 years, and it would have been in the FDA forever. This is...
Again, Pfizer, not part of Operation Warp Speed. They developed the vaccine without Operation Warp Speed. Regardless of who was in the White House, Pfizer developed the vaccine.
It's 5 times faster than the fastest prior vaccine development in history. 5 times faster. Say it again, 5 times faster. Nobody can believe it, actually. 3 other vaccines are also in...
Does he want us to say 5 times faster fast?
The final stages of trial. They'll arrive within a few weeks, and they will also be mass-produced, and the delivery will be very rapid. We're ready to go. The vaccine will be distributed to frontline workers, the elderly, and high-risk Americans immediately. It will be a matter of weeks. Get out very...
So immediately, a matter of weeks.
Very much ahead of schedule. Any schedule that I said we're going to be far ahead of that.
You said before Election Day.
We know that this virus primarily targets older populations and those with underlying health conditions, while over 99.98% of those...
What do you guys think? Do you think he's going to take questions? I don't think he'll take questions.
Those under the age of 50 make a full and quick recovery. By giving the vaccine to high-risk individuals right away, we'll dramatically reduce hospitalizations and deaths. Case levels are high, but a lot of the case levels are high because of the fact that we have the best testing program anywhere.
Are you going to mention hospitalization records or hospitalizations being in a record? Are you going to mention that?
The world, we've developed the most and the best tests.
We have not.
And we test far more than any other country, so it shows up.
We don't.
Obviously, more cases. By vaccinating the elderly and the high risk, we will effectively end this phase of the pandemic and allow seniors to reclaim their golden years, the golden years of their lives, which is so incredible.
Who the fuck wrote this? The seniors reclaim their golden years, which are so incredible. Golden. Is this an ad for something?
And it's about time that they can have those golden years. Again, this process is starting right away. Millions of doses will soon be going out the door.
Yeah.
They're all ready, waiting for that final approval. As soon as April, the vaccine will be available to the entire general population, with the exception of places like New York State, where, for political reasons, the governor decided to say, and you know, I don't think it's good politically. I think it's very bad from a health standpoint, but he wants to take his time on the vaccine. He doesn't trust where the vaccine's coming from. These are coming from the greatest companies anywhere in the world, greatest labs in the world. But he doesn't trust the fact that it's this White House, this administration. So we won't.
Not what Cuomo said. Do I even have to say that? Do I have to pause him there and say that? Because I think we all probably figured that out.
Won't be delivering it to New York until we have authorization to do so, and that pains me to say that. This is a very successful, amazing vaccine at 90% and more. But so the Governor Cuomo, will have to let us know when he's ready for it. Otherwise, we can't be delivering it to a state that won't be giving it to its people immediately.
Wow, we're going to withhold the vaccine. We're not going to deliver the vaccine to Americans, is what he's saying there. And by the way, Cuomo did not say that. So, well, New York didn't vote for him, so by all rights.
And
also, Georgia, you're not getting... Arizona, you don't get shit. I'm going to send you some flu. Not the vaccine, just the flu.
I know the people of New York very well. I know they want it. So the governor will let us know when he's ready. He's had some very bad editorials recently about this statement and what's happened with respect to nursing homes and his handling of nursing homes. And I hope he doesn't handle this as badly as he's handled the nursing homes. But we're ready to provide it as soon as they let us know that they'll actually use it. And again, it's a very safe and a great vaccine. Already we have among the lowest case fatality rates, our country, anywhere in the world, the entire world.
Number one, not true. Number two, can't judge a pandemic by case fatality rates. It says that right on our World in Data, where he gets his data.
And we've performed significantly better than our peer countries. As far as therapeutics are concerned, my administration's also made critical investments in therapies that have helped reduce the mortality rate by 85%. That's, to me, one of the most exciting things. It's incredible, some of the antibody vaccines and others that have come out and have really helped people. 85%. Last month, the FDA approved remdesivir, and we've secured enough remdesivir to treat 850,000 patients. My administration finalized an agreement with Eli Lilly to purchase the first doses of their antibody therapy, which shows amazing results. This treatment will be available completely free of cost to patients. 5,000 units have already been shipped, and many more are going out the door as we speak. We've also reached an agreement with AstraZeneca for the large-scale manufacturing of their antibody treatment, which is excellent. We expect to issue emergency use authorizations for a number of additional treatments in the near future. Tremendous promise, but remember the 85% number. That's an incredible number. But
it's really not that incredible. We weren't doing any testing, so of course our CFR, case fatality ratio, was very, very high back in April. But we had probably just as many cases. We just weren't testing, so we didn't know that we had that many cases. So yes, has it come down? Absolutely. Yeah, we've got some treatments now. We had nothing at the time. Now we've got your remdesivir, some antibody, Okay, anyway, I've totally forgotten the word. Monoclonal antibodies. Plus the vaccine is coming out. That's going to lower the CFR as well. There's many things that are better. Plus, of course, hydroxychloroquine that I'm sure really helped the president in hospital with his $14. Doctors. $14 worth of doctors.
Have some tremendously promising drugs online and ready to come out. We have ensured that our frontline workers have all the tools they need. My
Still short on PPE.
Administration's invoked the Defense Production Act and related authorities over 100 times and have made a historic investment into our industrial base. All states
Dexamethasone, that's what I was looking for. Yeah, the steroids.
that requested PPE from the federal government have received the PPE almost immediately upon request. Every American who needed a ventilator has had access to a ventilator. Think of that. Very
I've thought of it, and it's not true.
complicated piece of equipment, very expensive. And we haven't had one person in this whole country that has requested or needed a ventilator that hasn't had it.
Not true.
Every single request has been immediately filled. So that was something that was a great job. And now we're helping the rest of the world with ventilators because it's a very hard thing. We're producing them thousands of ventilators a month. The federal government has 22,000 beds immediately available for states and jurisdictions that need additional capacity. But we think that it's going to start going down, possibly very quickly. We'll see what happens. But with the vaccine, you'll see numbers going down.
People are showing up at the hospitals in Utah or El Paso or Mississippi, and we don't have hospital beds for them, but we give them a ventilator. Here's a very complicated piece of machinery. Good luck.
Within a matter of months, and it'll go down very rapidly. As we continue to combat the virus, our economy is rebounding far beyond any expectations. I see the stock market's up almost 400 points today again, and it's ready to break the all-time record. Our jobs records are incredible.
That is actually absolutely accurate. You can't see it's behind me, but it's a 399.64.
The job numbers are incredible. In the last 6 months, we've created over 13 million jobs and slashed the unemployment rate.
We haven't created jobs. Those were jobs that just returned after being shut down. Still 21 million people on unemployment, but okay.
By more than half. Last quarter, we witnessed the fastest economic growth ever recorded in the history of our country, 33.1%. It's a number that is more than double our highest. That was in 1952, and we've more than doubled it. The United States experienced the smallest economic
he's going to be doing rallies in Georgia.
Contraction and the most rapid economic recovery of any major Western nation. We went down less and we went up more, which is quite a combination of facts. Well,
yes, it is. That is accurate. It is quite a combination of facts.
While healthy Americans have gone back to work and to school, we continue to spare no expense to protect the elderly and the vulnerable.
Really? Because we still haven't approved the HEROES package from May 12th.
According to some estimates, a national lockdown costs $50 billion a day and hundreds of thousands of jobs every single day. Ideally, we won't go to a lockdown. I will not go. This administration will not be going to a lockdown. Hopefully, whatever happens in the future, who knows which administration it will be. I guess time will tell. But I can tell you this administration will not go to a lockdown. There won't be necessity. Lockdowns cost lives. And they cost a lot of problems. The cure cannot be.
Hopefully, if there's an administration, I won't. He won't. I won't. There. Ventilators. Lot of ventilators.
You got to remember, it cannot be worse than the problem itself, and I've said it many times. And
play it back?
When you look at what happens during a lockdown,
again. That was fun to watch.
This administration will not be. We went down less and we went up more.
Yeah.
A lockdown costs $50 billion a day and hundreds of thousands of jobs every single day. Ideally, we won't go to a lockdown. I will not go. This administration will not be going to a lockdown. Hopefully, whatever happens in the future, who knows which administration it will be. I guess time will tell. But I can tell you this administration will not go to a lockdown. There won't be necessity.
That time will be January 20th, and it won't be you.
Lockdowns cost lives, and they cost a lot of problems. The cure cannot be, you got to remember, cannot be worse than the problem itself. And I've said it.
We already talked about when they released Friday I'm in Love, and I don't know that that was any worse, but it certainly, the fans didn't like it.
Many times. And when you look at what happens during a lockdown, I just say it very loudly. It's horrible what happens with drugs, alcohol, depression, loss of jobs, loudly. Business closures. It's a terrible thing.
Yeah.
So this administration will not go, under any circumstances, will not go to a lockdown, but will be very vigilant, very careful. We understand the disease. It's a complicated disease, but we understand it very well.
Do we?
We ask all Americans to remain vigilant.
Because we just had 154,000 cases yesterday. So I'm not really sure we're understanding this thing that well.
Especially as the weather gets colder and it becomes more difficult to go outside and to have outside gatherings. And with that, I just want to ask some very talented people to come up and say a few words. General Perna and Dr. Slaoui have been incredible. The general is really getting started right now, but he's really, what we don't know and what people don't know, he started putting this all together 6 months ago, and you're going to see some real action.
Let's jump ahead on
vaccine doses to be able to immunize the companies developing monoclonal just in the COVID-19 disease in very frail subjects or in very high-risk subjects as a protective alternative to a vaccine. So, potentially 2 vaccines and 2 therapeutics may be granted an emergency use authorization before the end of this year. I think it's a remarkable achievement within a period of 6 to 7 months. It is important to note that this progress has been achieved without any political interference. I said it many times. And at every step has been and is being judged by independent expert bodies, whether it's when the FDA grants the green light to go into clinical trials, or whether when the data safety monitoring boards review the safety of the studies on an ongoing basis and sometimes put them on hold, as I'm sure you have witnessed with the AstraZeneca vaccine, for instance. And these same data safety monitoring boards are the independent boards of experts that analyze the efficacy of the vaccines and the safety of the vaccines and tell the
this is Dr. Slaoui. He's in charge of the national response in terms of the vaccines.
Companies whether they should progress with the filing of an emergency use authorization or not. So it's not the companies, it's not Operation Warp Speed, it's not the US government, it is independent experts that assess the safety and the efficacy of the vaccines that are being tested. And when the FDA will review these vaccines and these therapeutics.
Trump is so bored, he's doing his little self-comforting rocking going on over there.
They will also have the advice, public advice, from boards. One of them is called the VRBPAC, is the advisory board to the FDA for vaccine reviews after review of the data.
I wasn't watching Trump on that. Hold on. Executive producer Rich said, did you see his face when he said it's not warp speed? I was thinking the same thing, but I wasn't looking at Trump. Let's go back. Good catch. Let's watch Trump when he says it's not Operation Warp Speed.
With the AstraZeneca vaccine, for instance, they should progress with the filing of an emergency use authorization or not. So it's not the companies, it's not Operation Warp Speed, it's not the US government, it is independent experts.
He's not even listening. Just watch him. He's so tuned out right now.
Companies, whether they should progress with the filing of an emergency use authorization or not. So it's not the companies, it's not Operation Warp Speed, it's not the US government, it is independent experts that assess the safety and the efficacy of the vaccines that are being tested.
Looking through the crowd.
And when the FDA will review these vaccines and these therapeutics, they will also have the advice, public advice, from boards. One of them is called the VRPAC, that is the advisory board to the FDA for vaccine reviews. After review of the data transparently and available to everybody to look into before the FDA then make its decision to either authorize a vaccine or not authorize it. On that basis, I personally feel very comfortable to say that the vaccines and the therapeutics that we have helped develop and accelerate will be judged independently, and if approved, should be used by all in the population.
Check out how small his podium is.
Because I believe vaccination is likely to be the cornerstone among all the other measures that we have to take to help us really control this pandemic. I will now pass to my co-leader, General Perna, who will tell you more about the support that the operation has provided to manufacturing of the vaccine and also to their distribution. Thank you very much.
This guy's good. General Perna was on 60 Minutes. Here's the problem. So this is an Army logistics guy. You know, let's just listen.
Mr. President, thank you for allowing me to continue service of our great nation as the co-leader with Dr. Moncef Slaoui on this mission. Let me start by emphasizing for me, what is Operational Warp Speed about? It is about saving lives. And it is a Herculean task that the President put us on many months ago. And as Dr. Slaoui just laid out, we are making steady progress and we are ready to execute. Through the whole of American approach, we have leveraged the best of nation in
Let's jump ahead.
Part of the planning to accept the vaccine. We are working closely along with the CDC, the 64 jurisdictions and states to ensure vaccine can safely and quickly get to those who need it first. And then we have plans to ensure that it spreads exponentially across our country and that no place is left without a vaccine. At the end of the day, our success is going to be judged by the availability of the vaccine as shots go in arms. It is the partnerships we have formed with the pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer and Moderna, distribution companies like McKesson, FedEx, and UPS, and pharmacies like CVS and Walgreens that have agreed to do things differently, to think, how can we get this to the American people in the most rapid and expeditious way? We will be successful because of this.
So this guy does Army logistics, and boy, he's working his ass off. He's doing so far. First off, it's under Trump. It's got nothing to do with him. Trump will screw this up somehow. That being said, Biden comes in on the 20th, and things will get worked out hopefully, and hopefully the transition team will start working with the top levels of government so that things can get out there. But so I'm very hopeful. But the cool thing about this guy is he knows nothing about medical science. But in his office, he has like binders full of terms. He has a cheat sheet taped by his desk with all the little, PBB and PBR and all the cheat sheet anagrams. It's a good guy. I'm rooting for him. But anyway, if you get a chance, go to 60minutes.com or whatever CBS News has 60 Minutes under and watch the interview from this last Sunday. Could be
America
2 Sundays ago.
Approach, this collaboration, this effort that everybody is leading towards. I will end where I started.
PB&J.
This is about saving lives, the
DMV,
lives of the great American people.
FBI,
and we will
Comey,
not rest
Crooked,
until
Hillary.
we are successful and that we have irreversible momentum to returning our nation back to normal. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, General, very much. Great job. Alex, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, for providing the leadership that's gotten us where we are today. The success that Operation Warp Speed has realized so far has been made possible only because of the bold vision you announced not even 6 months ago, right here in the Rose Garden. to highlight 3 of the remarkable accomplishments we've seen just this week. First, Pfizer announced very promising data on its vaccine
not warp speed, not because Trump announced it a few months ago.
Candidate. Second, the FDA authorized and we have begun to distribute and administer Eli Lilly's monoclonal antibody to help Americans at risk for serious
I don't think that was inside the scope of Operation Warp Speed. I could be wrong.
Disease stay out of the hospital. Third, another vaccine company, Moderna, announced that it's reached a critical clinical trial milestone.
That is Operation Warp Speed.
Meaning we may see data from them within days.
1 out of 3. That's like electoral college votes for Trump.
Back in the spring, we were told by all of the experts that a vaccine was a year or a year and a half away. And the announcements I just highlighted would have been unthinkable. The president said that's not acceptable. And thanks to the support he's provided, we're now on track to deliver a safe and effective vaccine to our most vulnerable this year. As I worked with the president to assemble this team and organize this effort, his support was indispensable at each step of the way. We went out and found the very best people on the planet to do the job, who you just talked with. Dr. Slaoui, the world's most successful vaccine developer. General Perna, one of the world's most qualified logistics leaders. When I first talked to Dr. Slaoui and General Perna about our goals and recruited them to this effort, we dreamed of being at the point we're at today, on track to achieve the incredibly ambitious goal we set together. The president gave us the full financial support we needed, enabling us to invest more than $10 billion to de-risk vaccine companies' development efforts and manufacture product in advance. Our completely unprecedented partnership with the Defense Department has given us a comprehensive public-private plan for distribution and helped each Operation Warp Speed vaccine maker secure what they needed for manufacturing, including Pfizer's ongoing production this week. Operation Warp Speed has always had one goal: saving lives. The President has given OWS the independence it needs to achieve that goal and ensured that we're following the procedures that Americans expect for any medical product they take. At every step, ensuring patient safety has been our top priority. This process has been driven solely by science and data. So it's a shame that some, one example being the governor of New York, have actually injected politics into the process and suggested the possibility of intentionally delaying access to an FDA-authorized vaccine, which is simply unconscionable. Because the President has delivered the full funding we need, the best people on the planet, and real independence for this project, Operation Warp Speed is doing something that's never been done before in history. This success means there is light at the end of the tunnel. Right now is not the time to let our guard down. We continue to encourage Americans to follow the 3 W's. Wash your hands, watch your distance, wear a mask when you can't watch your distance, and avoid settings where you can't do those things. Because of the incredible American spirit, because of what great scientists and public servants and innovators have done through Operation Warp Speed, we have such a bright future ahead of us. If we continue to protect ourselves, our families, and our communities, then I firmly believe that future will be here very soon. Thank you, Mr. President, for making that very bright future possible for the American people.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Mike Pence, please.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, and on behalf of the White House Coronavirus Task Force, I was grateful to just have a few minutes today to commend the team of Operation Warp Speed. It was your vision that we could harness the ingenuity and the creativity of America's greatest pharmaceutical and research companies to speed in record time a vaccine that would save American lives. You told the American people that we would have a vaccine before the end of the year, and some scoffed at that timetable. But I can tell you the team on Operation Warp Speed didn't. These great research companies didn't. And as you've articulated here, Mr. President, the American people can be comforted with all the news this week that help is on the way, that literally pending FDA approval of the Pfizer vaccine and perhaps very soon another vaccine that will be submitted by Moderna and even other companies that before the year is out, we'll be able to administer a vaccine to tens of millions of Americans, as you've said, Mr. President, beginning with those most vulnerable, beginning with our seniors all across this country, beginning with our healthcare workers and first responders at the point of the need. It is an unprecedented medical mobilization, the greatest in the history of our country, and I join you in commending this team. Let me also say, Mr. President, that the White House Coronavirus Task Force will be meeting with our nation's governors in our regular conference call this Monday. We'll be reviewing with them the progress on the development of a vaccine, our plans for distribution, but we'll also be reviewing each and every state's specific plans for distributing the vaccine. Continue to urge governors to have those plans developed and prepared and ready for immediate implementation. And finally, Mr. President, as we see cases rising around the country, as we see hospitalizations rising around the country, I want to encourage the American people with the news that, as we have done from the very beginning, we're going to continue to move heaven and earth to make sure that your family has access to the level of health care that we'd want any one of our members of our family to have. I spoke to FEMA today, and as
Menyears? What's a menyear?
that as we have done from the very beginning, we're going to continue to move heaven and earth to make sure that your family has access to the level of health care that we'd want any one of our members of our family to have. I spoke to FEMA today, and as we heard reported at our last task force.
Are menyears like only the men count because it's a religious thing? Is that what's happening with Pence?
Force meeting, Mr. President. We're receiving requests from states for PPE, for personnel, but we're meeting all of those requests.
God, I hope he takes questions. Look at him. Just look at that lumbering oaf. He's topping 300 now, kids. Look at the size of that girth. It's nothing but girth going on there. Look at all this chubbage down here. You don't get there. And why are they so wrinkled? What the hell? Look at these pants. See? That's Pence's pants. And then over here, Trump. What is happening with Trump's pants? And why? Why am I asking?
And according to our team on the ground, we continue to believe that we'll be able to meet the request for PPE and equipment, both from the Strategic National Stockpile, also from the commercial market, to make sure that those needs are all met. And the American people can also be confident because of the system that you established that
seriously, what the
hell?
Request
for PPE and equipment, both from the Strategic National Stockpile,
what is going on
also
here?
From the commercial market,
what
to make sure that those needs
creases?
are all met. And the American people can also be confident because of the system that you established that since this past July, we're actually able to track PPE, gowns and gloves and N95 masks on a hospital-by-hospital basis. So we can continue to deliver, as you said, Mr. President, on that extraordinary record in America where no American who's ever required a ventilator has ever been denied a ventilator, no American who's ever required an ICU on a hospital-by-hospital basis. So we can continue to deliver, as you said, Mr. President, on that extraordinary record in America where no American who's ever required a ventilator has ever been denied a ventilator.
He doesn't say his R's very strongly. Is that an Indiana thing? Is that a middle of the country thing? When he says required, it sounds like it just acquired.
Ventilator. No American who's ever required an ICU bed has ever been denied an ICU bed. So the good news today through Operation Warp Speed, Mr. President, is help is on the way. It's on the way right around the corner.
That's Dr. Leah's. I think Dr. Leah has it. The reason his pants are so creased is because he's been sitting on the toilet for so long. You pull your pants down. That's what it is. That's probably what it is. That didn't even occur to me, and I'm really very upset that it has now.
As one of the members of our task force said recently, the cavalry is coming. But we want to encourage every American that we're going to continue to make sure that our healthcare system has the resources to support the equipment and supplies that they need. And we also, Mr. President, as we see cases rising, particularly in the heartland of this country, but in communities all across America, we encourage every American, as the Secretary did and as you have, continue to practice good hygiene, wash your hands, practice social distancing, wear a mask when that's not possible. We all have a role to play. We all know what to do to protect the vulnerable, to look after our families and our neighbors and friends, and we encourage every American.
I just want a bugle to start playing right now, and Joe Biden jogging up to the podium.
With all the good news this week, to continue to be persistent in putting the health of yourself, your family.
He's wearing shoulder pads, kids. Look at this. He's wearing shoulder pads.
Family, your neighbors, co-workers, and friends first. And we'll get through this, and we'll get through this together.
We will not get
thank
through
you,
this.
Mr. President.
I'm out of candy. Look at that. That's
And
my
thank you,
Halloween
everybody.
candy stash.
Thank you very much.
No questions.
All right, the president not taking any questions here, just leaving it as an update on the coronavirus and what's happening with the promising case of vaccines. Taking a bit of a rib at the chairman of Pfizer, of course, who had said that Operation Warp Speed did not apply to his company. In fact, the president did apply to his company, and that company was a beneficiary of a good U.S.
All right, should we keep going here? So there's nothing there. Let's
investment, as it was a European investment that allowed not only.
Okay, so Neil Cavuto was fact-checking Trump.
Only
That's
to
good.
speed this, but also to get doses out to the public. One of the reference the president made about the low death count in the United States. Well, we have the highest death count in the world. I believe he was talking about a percentage that most countries use per 100,000. How many deaths you have in that population. And there, the United States ranks 12th. So behind countries like Mexico and Iran, the United Kingdom, Colombia, Brazil, Turkey, and Argentina. So on that technical basis,
12th out of 200.
If you're looking at sheer size at a
that's worst. 12th worst.
Percentage of overall cases, we're much lower than the worst. We just have the highest count worldwide when it comes to total deaths. Kevin Corke, he did not address the election issue and the count. That was by design, nor take questions. Your thoughts?
And I think I speak for a number of folks here in the Rose Garden that we were certainly hoping that he would, Neil.
Go ahead, Kevin. I'm sorry.
I was hoping that he would kneel and start praying. And
no, go ahead. Go ahead, Kev.
No, I was just going to say, I think I speak for everyone here when I say we were certainly hoping that he might address some of the other pressing issues, like is he going to concede anytime soon?
Yeah, so Kayleigh, I think that's enough of that. Kayleigh has been all over the airwaves, especially last night. And last night, they really displayed their full-on dishonesty. This isn't even about the election. This is about money for Trump, as it always is. So disingenuous. Just and if you don't look for it, if you just listen to the rhetoric, you're fooled. But here's the thing: if you're gonna spit the rhetoric out, don't contradict it with the actual evidence that you're showing on the screen, which is what happened on Hannity last night. Hold on, Kelly Clarkson has her own show. Good for you, Kelly. You go, girl. Yeah, holding it. Well, that's the distraction, right? So I can show you this. This is a tablecloth, and it's one of the finest. You can have picnics on this. It's just a napkin. Meanwhile, I don't even know the example I could give you that would. Let's go find. Was she on the morning show this morning? Let's go watch the morning show here. Morning show. What's it called? Fox and Friends. Hold on. There it is. Let's go see who was on the Fox and Friends this morning. And coming up here, I think she was on yesterday.
Good day.
There's a lot of giggling going on in the morning in Fox.
No Secretary of State can unilaterally step in, especially an anti-Trump Secretary of State like this one.
A home spa, my.
All right, a home spa.
Something else.
Okay, hold on. Let me see if there's anybody else besides Ari here late in the show. And no, we'll go to yesterday. Let's go back a day here and find that, because I know she was on yesterday. And actually, let's do this. Let's go to Maria from this morning, because Petey Navarro was on that. Mornings with Maria. Here we go. And this morning, here's Peter Navarro from this morning. It's thinking
from
about
Sussex.
Where is he? There he is.
Companies make on.
Welcome back. Protecting national security, the Trump administration unveiling an executive order which bans U.S. investments in Chinese companies with ties to the military in China. The order applies to
Was she on Fox Business this morning? Was she on Maria, or was she on something else? Guys, do you know? Thanks, Nicole.
31 Chinese companies. It impacts some of China's biggest companies, including Huawei, China Telecom Corporation, and China Mobile. A spokesperson for China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs blasted President Trump's executive order, saying this, quote, will not only seriously damage the legitimate interests of Chinese companies, but it will also damage the interests of investors.
Okay, let's go to Peter.
And what the president is trying to do here, we know that the Pentagon had a list of the companies that are public companies, that are investable companies, that have ties to the military months ago. Why did the president now decide to make this move?
Okay, thank you.
The underlying principle is that American capital should not be used to finance Chinese militarization, particularly weapons that are going to be used to kill Americans. That's the top line. Now, we have 31 companies in there.
Just said it was the bottom line, ends the sentence with top line.
But there's also over 100 subsidiaries. They're traded on the Chinese exchanges as well as our own exchanges. And what you have, for example, is AVIC, which is kind of the Chinese equivalent of Boeing. They make the Chengdu J-20 fighter, for example, which is based on stolen designs from the Pentagon. You have to ask yourself, why would an American investor or American pension fund invest in that? You have Norinco, which builds combat vehicles. You've got KSIC. I've written extensively about China's asymmetric warfare with missiles. You know, missiles are a lot cheaper than aircraft carriers. But these companies make what they call openly the aircraft killer. So what the president has done, which has been in the tradition of his presidency, is to crack down hard on China. In this case, what we're tackling are these Chinese companies that mean to do America harm. You've also got Hikvision. That's the one that surveillance. They do all the concentration camps, both digital and real, for example, in Xinjiang province. Huawei's in there. These are bad companies doing bad things with the goal of driving the American Navy out of the Pacific.
Yeah, I think this is an important point that you're making, because I think the audience probably would like to hear the background of this and the backdrop. I mean, Chinese law says that any company in China has to answer the Chinese Communist Party should the Chinese Communist Party say, look, I want this data, I want the data of your customers. They are forced to give that up to the CCP, and the CCP has made it very clear that it wants to replace the United States as the #1 superpower. So in investing in these companies, you are inadvertently funding that movement, right?
Of military veterans, we will not engage in the indecent investment in these
by a temporary injunction, which prevents.
Here we go.
I want to ask you about what happens should Joe Biden become president. Does all of this change? I mean, you've got the TikTok story, right? TikTok has already avoided shutdown. The Commerce Department says it will abide by a temporary injunction, which prevents the government from effectively shutting down TikTok. It is waiting for further guidance about how to proceed with its minority stake sale to Oracle and Walmart. So, Peter, what about that? What's the ultimate outcome for TikTok? And even the president's executive order on not investing in Chinese companies tied to the military. Do you believe these things will be reversed should Joe Biden become the next president?
Should.
Maria, we're moving forward here at the White House under the assumption that there will be a second Trump term. I think it's really important.
That is the incorrect assumption.
Before people's heads explode here, to understand that what we seek here is verifiable ballots, certifiable ballots, and an investigation into what are growing numbers of allegations of fraud under signed affidavits by witnesses. And my own view, looking at this election,
all of the stuff that Kayleigh's talking about in terms of signed affidavits, I've read several of the affidavits. There's no actual voter fraud in there somewhere. Calling someone a C word is not voter fraud. Calling them a C word is A, because they're probably a cunt, and secondly, the First Amendment, totally allowable, not voter fraud.
We have what appears in some sense to be an immaculate deception. But if you look statistically at what happened, clearly the president won this election and was leading.
Wow, that's statistically what happened. They flash it up right at that point. And at this point of the day, it was 290 to 217. Statistically, that's a win for. This is the guy in charge of the economy, guys.
It's by witnesses. And my own view, looking at this election, we have what appears in some sense to be an immaculate deception. But if you look statistically at what happened, clearly the president won this election and was leading on election day. And then after election day, somehow in these key battleground states, they got just enough votes.
They counted the votes that American citizens cast. That's what happens in those key states.
To catch up to the president. That's kind of what is being investigated. So I think what's important here is that this is...
That's what they're investigating, the people counting votes. People counting American... Somehow, people voted, and then somehow they counted the votes, and Biden took over. What the hell?
A country of laws and rules. We have a very clear set of election laws. And what we need to do is go through the process as we did with Gore, Bush v. Gore, and see where we get. So until we do that, our assumption is the second Trump term. We think he won that election. And any speculation about what Joe Biden might do, I think, is moot at this point.
So,
well, no. It's just pathetic. It's just pathetic. Florida, they did a recount because it was 537 votes apart. That's really, really close. These are thousands, tens of thousands of votes apart. Georgia, they're doing the recount. That's the only close one, and it's not close. It's not going to be overturned. And even if you do flip Georgia, Biden wins. If you flip Georgia and Pennsylvania, Biden wins. If you flip Pennsylvania, given Michigan, Biden wins. Flip Pennsylvania, flip Michigan, and even better, take Nevada. Give them 3 states, Nevada, Arizona, and Pennsylvania. Biden wins.
How long will this process take, Peter? We've been talking about the affidavits that I've been able to get my hands on. There's a whole host of affidavits I know that the Trump legal team has. They've spoken with a number of witnesses who have said, I saw voter fraud. What are your expectations and how long?
There's none of them that said there's voter fraud. There's suspicious activity. I don't know. They were putting these ballots in a box. I didn't know.
This takes to flow through the courts, and when we'll have a better idea of whether or not the legal system agrees with your notion.
This is clearly not my lane in terms of the granularity of the whole issue, but clearly there's going to be recounts in some states as required by law. There may be also contesting following those recounts. And clearly, based on the lawsuits that are being filed, there has to be investigations. I mean, some of these allegations are very, very troublesome. So I think it's important for this country, if we're going to go forward as a vibrant...
He doesn't have a lane. He should be on the sidewalk at this point.
...democracy, that we have free and fair elections that people have confidence in.
Yeah.
And this election... unless
80% of the American public has confidence in it, the remaining 20% are listening to your bullshit.
Unless we very carefully do go through this process and exhaust all remedies, we're going to...
No, we are. We're doing the recounts where the recounts are required, and there's no way Trump catches up. There just isn't. It's completely impossible.
Lose that confidence. So this is a historic election. As the president says, let's see what happens.
All right. Peter, good to have you this morning. Thanks very much.
Yeah, let's find Dobbs here and see if Kaylee was on Dobbs this morning. Dobbs. That's Lou Dobbs tonight. What's Lou Dobbs in the morning? What's that called? There's something else. It's not Futures. What do they call the show in the morning with Dobbs? Doesn't matter. Let's go to Martha from yesterday. The story. There we go. Let's find it. I think she was on the story yesterday, and that is 22 hours ago.
Your home tonight. That is it for this special report. Fair, balanced, and unafraid. The story, hosted by Martha McCallum, starts right now. Hey, Martha.
Hey there, Brett. Good to see you tonight. Slew of problems, including
Lou Dobbs. What's the name of the Lou Dobbs show in the morning, though?
handling ballots and unfair treatment of poll workers. This as the president made several new accusations on Twitter today, citing a report that almost 3 million votes cast for him nationwide were deleted and that Republican poll watchers were not allowed in the counting rooms in Pennsylvania and Michigan. Both tweets were flagged by Twitter as disputed. Here now, White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany, who is here tonight in her capacity as a Trump campaign senior advisor. Kayleigh, good to have you with us. I know you've been busy, but before we start, there's some pushback about you wearing these two hats. Folks say, look, she's being paid with White House taxpayer dollars to be the press secretary, and now you're over in this other position. What do you say to them about that? How do you
The name of the morning show is Crazy Train with Lou Dobbs. That is correct.
Answer those criticisms.
Well, first, I'm cleared by White House counsel. The Hatch Act, some may not understand it, but it says this.
I understand it, and what she's about to say is probably not accurate. Let's find out.
That you separate your political role and your White House role. You do not lose First Amendment rights when you come into government. The same.
A lot of them actually do. For example, if you work for the CIA, you've lost your First Amendment rights.
Rights that allow the press to have freedom of press, allow me to have the right to political speech. So long as I separate the two, I'm actually complying with the Hatch Act. And notably, those same critics were criticizing others in the administration for engaging in political speech on government property. I've chosen to separate the two in compliance with the Hatch Act.
Anytime she's in a government vehicle or she tweets from Air Force One and it's anything political, yeah, that is a violation of the Hatch Act. Now, Kellyanne Conway violated the Hatch Act many times and scoffed at reporters when they suggested, hey, this is a violation of the Hatch Act. So the department of the government that's responsible for that sort of thing said, hey, you violated the Hatch Act, and recommended that she be fired. Here's the thing. The guy in charge of firing, it's Trump. So even though the ethics folks in the government said that's a violation of the Hatch Act, you should fire her, nothing happened. Nothing, and nothing's going to happen to Kayleigh.
Checked.
Okay. Just wanted to ask you that up top. Now, let's talk about the mood at the White House and from the president tonight. I was listening to Jonathan Swan earlier talking about reporting that he has done that indicates that there is sort of a split look at this, that the president wants to keep fighting because he wants people to feel that their vote counts, but that there may be an increasing acceptance that that it looks difficult for things to end with this going his way. Where does it stand really tonight?
Well, where it stands is this. Our Pennsylvania filing that was just put through really is significant because it would affect tens of thousands of votes potentially.
Oh my God, they're having a million mega march on Saturday? I hadn't even heard about this. Yeah, apparently there's going to be a million mega march.
In Pennsylvania. And what it says is this, that in some Democrat counties, 7 in particular, voters were given an opportunity to correct their ballot. They were notified in advance, hey, your mail-in ballot isn't right, come and cast a new ballot. Whereas in the other 60 counties, voters weren't given that advantage. That's a real equal protection.
Cuomo's on MSNBC right now. I don't know that I'm really that interested in it, but let's go take a look. Let's bring that smaller, and we got to go back from here, and let's pull up. Okay, no, it's not. It doesn't want to. There it is. Live. There's Cuomo. Or not.
In fact, in the 8 days since he came out to the White House podium, he delivered that string of false claims on voter fraud as the vote.
Too late.
concede defeat. Now that's different than leaving office and exiting the Oval Office. I haven't talked to too many Trump advisors or aides who believe he'll just like cling to the resolute desk in the Oval Office and he'll have to be carried out. But he is going to make this difficult for everybody.
That was done on the President Show.
Exercise all
My
of
friend
these
Tony
challenges in these various courts, even though his
go
lawyers are
back
bailing on him
to-
in certain states and so on.
Really?
But no question about it, Wolf. There is a hardcore.
Hold on. Now I've lost Martha. The march is taking place in D.C., I think, by the monument. Come on. Show. Okay, well, we have to go back and search for Martha again. Hold on.
It's a real equal protection violation, and likewise, we believe in the counting process. Were given an opportunity to correct their ballot. They were notified in advance, hey, your ballot, your mail-in ballot isn't right. Come and
this Democrat
cast a new ballot.
So Democratic operatives, by that I mean volunteers or people working with the campaign. Operatives is a scary word, but these are just people working with the Biden campaign. If your ballot was thrown out because of a security envelope or your signature was wrong or whatever, in many jurisdictions there are people there saying, oh, why aren't you counting that one? Oh, it's because of this. Oh, well, can I see, is that a Democratic ballot? Okay, hold on. Hey, Democrat, come on down and fix your ballot. You've got X number of days to cure it, and then your ballot will count. But obviously these people wanted to vote. They were just trying to exercise their legal American option, but they had screwed it up somehow. So the Democrats have people to contact those people and say, hey, you can correct this. The Republicans have those people as well.
Whereas in the other 60 counties, voters weren't given that advantage. That's a real equal protection violation. And likewise, we believe in the counting process. The Pennsylvania legislature constitutionally decides how these elections work. And they've said you need a signature, you need an address, you need a date. And we know in Philadelphia and 2 other counties, those ballots were actually counted without those legislative requirements. So we believe this could affect a lot. And we deserve to look at this because everyone in this country deserves a vote and deserves the right and same amount of enfranchisement.
That is a decision that went your way in Pennsylvania today. And do you believe that that would nudge the Supreme Court to get involved?
Yeah, I think it certainly could. You know, the case you're referring to today was a Pennsylvania state court decision. It was significant.
Yeah, so they can't see the ballots. The people, these are things that are rejected before they're even counted, before they're tallied. So the envelope would be like, they won't even open the envelope. If there's some incorrect information on it, like, yeah, that signature doesn't match, and then they compare it to the signature on file. Do you agree? Yes, 2 people have looked at it, depending on the state. They have different rules in every state. Oh, okay, so this one is a mismatched signature, can't count it. And then, oh, is that a Democratic ballot? Yes, they've checked Democrat or whatever, or they look up that name because they've got the voter rolls, and people who've registered one way or the other, they don't have to see what's inside the ballot. A Democrat is usually going to vote. So they call up that Democrat, or they email the Democrat, and they say, hey,
The Secretary of State, who has put out anti-Trump tweets, was basically rebuked, and they said, no, Article 1, Section 4 of the Constitution matters, and in fact, the legislature gets to say this, not a politically motivated Secretary of State. And Martha, this has implications for elections to come. We have to fight for these principles, because when we have a number of allegations, these people deserve to be heard. President Trump will fight for them, and the Constitution should work as the founders intended it to.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think that, everyone accepts skepticism about what this looks like. There's something like 70% of Republicans think that there's not a free and fair election. And that's a very disturbing number, I think, for any American to look at. And when you look
well, 90% of Republicans approve of Trump, so it's really not that disturbing.
At some of these instances, we need to get this right. So, back to my question that I asked you earlier, is that the focus of the president right now, to make sure that this is fixed for the future? Or does he honestly believe tonight that he still has a shot at changing enough votes out there that would allow him to keep the White House?
Oh, he certainly believes he still has a shot at this. It's two-part. I think both of those things that you said are true. But when you look at the overall number of mail-in ballots in this country that are rejected nationwide, it is 1%. That is the average. That's what it was in 2016. And the data we're getting out of some of these states, like Pennsylvania and Michigan, is the rejection rate was 0.4%, 0.6%, much lower than that. So we want to take a look and say, hey, what went on here? Were you counting votes that didn't have signatures? We have affidavits, and we want answers. And we certainly think the vote
and that changes as requirements change. I mean, that's anyway.
Totals could change. The president is still fighting for a second term here, and this litigation will shed some light and pull back the curtains on some of the things that were going on.
All right. Let's put up this statement by the Election Council, which is a DHS group that just put out a statement tonight about this 2020 election, and take a look at what they had to say on the screen here. They call it the November 3rd election was the most secure in American history. There's no evidence that any voting system deleted or lost votes, changed votes, or was in any way compromised. And in the introduction, we talked about the president tweeting about millions of votes that were deleted. What do you say in light of their assessment at the Department of Homeland Security?
Well, first I would say there certainly were software issues when you look at what happened in 2 counties in Michigan, and it's important that we...
Those were not software issues. Those were humans making mistakes, and they were corrected.
Look at that, and we have
We looked at that. It has been looked at. It's fine.
Transparency and have observers who get a look at that, and that's mentioned in our lawsuit. But the real argument that we're making here, and I encourage everyone to go look at the complaint.
Yeah, but the argument your lawyers are making in court is that there were observers.
Complaints that we filed in Pennsylvania and in Michigan, and they are simply saying, let's put a pause, let's look at this, let's make sure that a voter in a Republican county was able to cure their ballot in the same way a voter in a Democrat county was. Let's ask, why were Republican poll watchers kept a football field away in some instances, while 627,000 votes were tabulated in Philadelphia? Let's get to the bottom.
They were not.
Of this in a factual way, in a truthful way.
It is factual. You could actually go back and watch the live stream.
And be very careful in the information we're putting forward, which is what we've...
Here's the deal. This is what they're trying to contend. They're saying Republican observers were kept in. Yeah, all of the extra ones. So there can only be a certain number of... We're in a pandemic, remember. There can only be a certain number of observers within visual distance of what's going on. They're not allowed to see what the votes are either, but they can see the envelopes and stuff. There's different rules in every state. Again, this is different. So when a whole bunch more observers want to come into the building, they're like, well, we're at capacity. We can only do 25% capacity or whatever the rule happens to be at that given time in that given area. So yes, some people are not allowed in, or maybe you're farther back. And in Pennsylvania, an arrangement was agreed to that a total of 60 people from the Republicans could be in the room. 60 people, that's a lot of people. And some were allowed to be within visual access, and some had to stand farther back and kind of watch from afar because we're having a coronavirus. But this was agreed to in court. There was no situation where Republicans were forbidden from watching ballot counts.
Done, and I think if people read our lawsuit, they will understand what we're doing is just asking for transparency, and we have to ask why Democrats aren't willing to provide that for us at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, I want to pull up this from Ron Klain. It's getting a lot of attention on Twitter. Back in 2014, the chief of staff that was chosen by President-elect Biden, he showed a graph, and then at the bottom, about voter fraud.
A graph?
It's agreeing with the Rasmussen poll that 68% of Americans think elections are rigged for incumbents. The focus of this piece was gerrymandering, and he says that is because they are.
Yeah.
The fact that, in my mind, when you look at this, it always feels like the side that, when it doesn't go their way, they believe that there's massive fraud in the elections. And, I think back to a statement that you made about President Obama. You said, that you called him a hero because he wanted Hillary Clinton to move on, to accept the consequences of the election, and to see that peaceful transition of power. So what do you say to people who look at that and see a bit of a double standard in the way that each side looks at these things?
Well, Hillary Clinton didn't provide hundreds of pages of affidavits of people saying that they were bullied, called the C word. Republican poll
again, not voter fraud, not voter fraud.
Observers racially
not voter fraud.
Harassed, pushed in some cases out.
not voter fraud.
Of sight. This has been going on a long time in Detroit and Philadelphia, and it's taken a president like President Trump to say, forgotten men and women, forgotten no longer. I'm going to stand up for these poll observers.
And the reason that Hillary didn't provide those documents is A, she conceded the election the night of the election because the numbers said that's what happened, and she accepted the numbers, and B, doesn't matter. It makes no difference. Like, why? There's no reason to provide all the affidavits. I was called the C word. The judge is going to look at that and go, all right, that's bad. And Trump wins the election. My orders, clong, 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 bang, bang, bang. Case done.
Observers who did not deserve to be treated in that manner and who deserve their legal right to observe the vote count.
Well, we agree with every element of not wanting people to be able to cast a vote that is not legal. I think most people are so careful about the way that they vote, and to see and hear these stories, I've heard them myself, about people who, walked in to vote and were told, oh, you already voted, in a mail-in situation. So I think pursuing this is good for transparency, and it's good for the election system overall. And we thank you for being here tonight, Kayleigh McEnany.
Thank you,
good
Martha.
to speak with you.
Okay, that's the end of that one. Colleen's been sending me a bunch of tweets here. What are we talking about? Someone in the Trump administration needs to remind him that if the election isn't certified, it will be by January 20th. Nancy Pelosi becomes president until it does. No, that's not accurate, because the House will vote, and then Trump will be president again. That's the only shot he has here, is if somehow things fall apart, it ends up in a tie in the Electoral College when they vote, and then it goes to the House. And the House can then decide who they want to be president, and they would decide for Trump. Okay, the House Dem and GOP leaders are holding respective dinners for new members, which is really, really stupid for either party to do that, because it's the coronavirus. So, yeah, see, there's nobody with any sense. Let's go to Fox and Friends from yesterday, and we'll watch Kayleigh on that. No, the House is Democratic, but each state gets one vote. So the delegation from each state decides who gets that vote. So whoever has the most delegates in that state, you get a vote. Here's the thing. Montana, one congressperson, but that's worth one vote. California, 60 Congress people. Like, I don't even know how many California Congress people are. That's worth one vote. So even though California has 63 times the population of Montana, they each get one vote for president in the House. It goes by state, not by actual representatives. It's an insane system. It's absolutely ridiculous. Let's go to the Hoppo, baby. Let's go to the Hoppo, baby. Fox and Friends. We'll go to yesterday, and we'll watch KK there, because something funny happened on that, I remember.
For watching us. Fox and Friends starts right now. Have a good day, everyone.
Yeah. It's Lindsay.
President.
Pause that for a second, because we don't need to hear the opening. Where is she? She's usually right at the end here. And I'm just scanning through. That's Lindsay. That's the other one. And is she here? Where is she? No, that's Ainsley. There she is. It's hard to tell with the blondes on Fox. There's so many of them that when you're scanning through, sometimes they all look like Kayleigh. Okay, here we go.
In 2014 in the trailing by 100 beyond Pennsylvania, and you have some more affidavits coming forward. What do you think you have?
Affidavits.
Yeah, that's right. There will be a number of affidavits filed today. I have a few just to preview with you. First is an individual who said they received a vote by mail, did not request one, went to the polls to cast her ballot.
Where was she?
It was told, sorry, you can't do that. You've already voted by mail. She didn't fill out the ballot that she received by mail. She merely discarded it, thinking it was a mistake. But nevertheless, that vote was cast. So there's those kinds of accusations.
That's incorrect. And at that point, you would fill out a provisional ballot.
And then separately from that is a big systemic equal protection argument, and it's this, that in 7 counties, Democrat-leaning counties, if they received your ballot in advance, it's illegal to open those ballots until Election Day, the mail-in ballots, but somehow they were determining which ballots were not accurate, which were not properly done, and telling voters to fix them in advance. In those 7
That because it's on the outside of the envelope. Depends on the state, but there are, was this Pennsylvania she just said? Let's go back a second here.
Counties, if they receive, but nevertheless, that vote was cast. So there's those kinds of accusations, and then separately from that is a big systemic equal protection argument, and it's this, that in 7 counties, Democrat-leaning counties, if they received your ballot in advance,
where? She didn't tell us.
It's illegal to open those ballots until Election Day, the mail-in ballots. But somehow they were determining which ballots were not accurate, which were not properly done, and telling voters to fix them in advance in those 7 Democrat counties. But in 60
where?
Other counties, these voters were not given the same opportunity to fix their ballots.
So 67 counties. Anybody? Georgia? Pennsylvania? Does anybody know what she's talking about?
So we have a number of affidavits from voters who were not told to fix their ballot, while their Democrat counterparts in 7 counties were. So it was an unequal system and one that disenfranchised some.
Okay, well then that argument can be stretched out to say like all 50 states have to be exactly the same because of equal protection under the law. So you take your 14th Amendment and you stick it in that, and then you can just say, oh, by the way, it's unfair that Montana gets 1 vote if it comes down to it, and California only gets 1 vote when there's 63 times as many people in California. 14th Amendment! 14th Amendment! Everything 14th Amendment! It's not the way it works. The states are given the right to decide. The states, if they decide to give the counties the power to do X, the counties get to do the power. The federal government doesn't have that power despite the 14th Amendment. But yes, if you want to start pushing the 14th Amendment in that direction, let's push that fucker right off the cliff and we will fix this country. 14th Amendment, my ass. 14th Amendment? You want to do 14th Amendment? Let's talk about the Electoral College, Kaylee.
While franchising others.
Sure. All right, Kaylee. So, you know, it's hard for the average person to keep track of all the lawsuits and complaints and affidavits you're filing. The Wall Street Journal has an item today that says that...
Oh, is Bones giving us a problem in here? I don't even know. I don't even see Bones. So
the campaign is excuse me, seasonal allergies. The campaign is
agreed. The deuce is right.
Attempting to get court orders to delay the vote in certain critical states, and then Republican-controlled state legislatures would then, because they would not be certified, would then appoint pro-Trump electors who would swing the Electoral College in his favor. It's unclear exactly how seriously the campaign is taking that. How seriously is the campaign considering that?
Well, constitutionally, that is an accurate argument. It is the state legislatures that choose the electors. But right now, they're zeroed in completely.
David says all counties in PA were instructed the night before the election to notify political parties about ballot errors and allow voters to cast provisional ballots on Election Day. So there you go. So what she's saying is complete nonsense. Does Pennsylvania have 67 counties? Is that where she was talking about? Because that was unclear. But it looked... okay, so David says some counties notified voters and some didn't. Again, not voter fraud. Not voter fraud.
Litigation, and the fact that in many of these cities, be it Detroit, be it Philadelphia...
I thought that too, Tony, that he might have COVID. The campaign is... there
have been issues for a long time of poll watchers being bullied. I was sitting last night and I was just reading through hundreds of pages out in Philadelphia.
not voter fraud.
Philadelphia, of people who volunteered their time, their legal right to show up at the polls, to watch the vote count. Republican challengers sitting there who were then bullied, who were called the C word in some cases, racial slurs shouted out at them, some of them escorted out of the room just for asking a question. These are the forgotten men and women who live in these liberal cities who for a very long time have had things going on like this at the polls. But finally, you have a president who, because he won new states in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, that
lost.
No other Republican has, who's standing up for these forgotten men and women in these
many Republicans have won those states before.
New states are shedding a light on old fraud and old problems with the system that need to be rectified.
Why does she look so round on this broadcast? Look at her face. It's almost like it's egg-shaped.
So I know they're doing a recount in Georgia. They want to make sure that they have an accurate total because it was close. The Wall Street Journal
Yeah, that's the law. They have to.
Editorial board says to everyone basically what you were saying right after the election. Everyone stay calm, take a moment. This is what they said, quote.
You know what? I actually do have the tape. There's a montage that CNN put together. I could find it, but I mean, we all know that they're hypocrites, right? Daily Show did one as well. With all of the Fox people saying that, oh, Hillary should accept this and they should stop recounting and all this other stuff. They're sore losers and yeah.
There's no reason not to let the process play out. The odds seem small that the preliminary vote tallies will be overturned in enough states to give Mr. Trump a second term in the White House. But
this is the Wall Street Journal right-leaning editorial board saying, give it up. It's ridiculous.
If the laws allow him to ask for recounts in states where he trails only narrowly, then doing so is his prerogative. Georgia's intent is to have the final result ready to certify on November 20th as originally scheduled.
7 days.
Keep calm and count on. So they're saying the odds are small that President Trump could win through these lawsuits. But the American people need to know that their votes counted, that there wasn't anything nefarious done behind the scenes. What do you say?
Yeah, well, the Wall Street Journal is right.
So they're saying the odds are small that President Trump could win through these lawsuits. But the American people need to know that their votes counted, that there wasn't anything nefarious done behind the scenes. What do you say?
Yeah, well, the Wall Street Journal is right to say we deserve to have an accurate count and we deserve to ask questions when there are really serious affidavits out there making serious allegations. That's exactly right. And just to put this into context, the average election, a national election in 2016, there was about a 1% rejection rate of mail-in ballots. 1%.
Yeah, right.
Now, in several of these states, the numbers we see coming in Georgia, for example, there's a 0.2% rejection rate. You would expect to...
Woohoo! We got better! We're doing better, everybody. USA, USA, USA. That's pretty. Should screenshot that.
Have a higher rejection rate in a lot of these races where there were a ton of new mail-in votes. So why this election are all of a sudden more mail-in votes being counted? There are real questions here. The recount is a great next step in Georgia, as are these lawsuits. We just want answers, and the American people deserve to be able to ask questions.
Kaylee, while this is happening, it's been brought up by Senator Langford, a Republican. He said, listen, give Joe Biden the presidential daily brief. After all, Senator Harris she's on the Intel committee. She's getting, she has high-level security access. Has the president considered that?
I haven't spoken to the president about that. That would be a question more for the White House, but I will say that all laws are being followed with regard to an expected transition, though we expect to continue on as the Trump administration. We will see how our litigation goes.
Oh, sorry.
Kaylee, I see that there's going to be a Stop the Steal event this weekend in D.C. at Freedom Plaza.
I have a calculator button on my keyboard. I didn't know I had a calculator button on my keyboard.
At noon, also a Million MAGA march where they're going to walk to the Supreme Court. I'm sure your side is encouraging that. Do you have any indication how many people might actually show up?
I think it's going to be quite large from what I'm hearing. Don't have an estimate.
Well, I mean, it's called the million. Could be a million billion.
For you, but people want to show up and have their voice heard. I mean, this president, look, he got more votes than any Republican nominee or president, I should say, in the history.
Oh, so then did he win?
of our country, and indeed he got more Republican votes as any nominee in the history of our party.
Is that where I was doing something else. Did she refer them back to the White House?
A march where they're going to walk to the Supreme Court. I'm sure your side is encouraging that. Do you have any indication how many people might actually show up?
I think it's going to be quite large from what I'm hearing. Don't have an
26. There will be 26 people there.
Estimate for you, but people want to show up.
There'll be a ton of people there, but they'll be videotaping. I'm guessing there'll be pickup trucks, people with a lot of flags.
Up and have their voice heard. I mean, this president, look, he got more votes than any Republican nominee or president, I should say, in the history of our country. And indeed, he got more Republican votes as any nominee in the history of our party back in 2016. He has 72 million people who love him, who want to show up and support him. His base is strong, and there is no denying that this president is the titular head of our party for many decades to come. And the enthusiasm you see among his base is something to behold.
That is not what titular means. That's not what titular means, unless they change the name to the Trump Party, because she's in charge of the communications, by the way, for the country. She is the head of White House communications. Titular head of the country. It's the Trump Party, I guess, is what they're saying. Unless he changed his name to President Republican? President Gop?
These rallies, the crowd sizes, tens of thousands showing up. I anticipate quite a large event this Saturday.
Real quickly, is he planning on going to Georgia to campaign?
He hasn't made any determinations on that thus far, but I'll tell you this, he's this morning even putting out tweets on behalf of Senator Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, and he wants those two candidates to prevail. He knows how important it is, and no one's been more of a team player than President Trump. Many days you'd have employees leaving the White House and think President Trump's wrapping up his day, and no, he's going to do tele-rallies for candidates across the country, and he will support these Georgia candidates as well.
Kaylee, it's the longest time since the president was president that we haven't seen him or heard from him. Do you know what the plans are? Is he planning on having another press conference? Is he planning on doing any interviews?
I think you'll hear from the president at the right moment. He gave a press conference, of course.
Today was the right moment, I guess.
Last Thursday, but right now.
What was the point of today anyway? They're just coming out and talking about Operation Mode. He's not running for election. There's no reason to go out. Nothing changed. We didn't gain any actual information from before the press conference to after the press conference. Press conference, it was just a speech. It was an oral presentation. It was what do they call that? An exposition. That's what we saw today. There was no press conferring with him.
He's letting this litigation play out, letting his lawyers take the lead on this while he stays hard at work for the American people on COVID and other matters.
Trump stays hard at work, like Jeffrey Toobin.
But you will be hearing from the president. You hear from him on Twitter. You'll be hearing from him at the right moment.
All right, Kaylee, thank you very much for joining us on this Thursday morning, filling us in on what's happening.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Kaylee. Meanwhile,
did she do the smile thing at the beginning? I like when she does the smile thing when she comes on camera. He's got the mic touch. She's got the smile thing. Let's find out. Go.
Hey, Steve.
All right, Griff, thanks so much. I think the real focus with the Trump campaign is the deficit in Arizona, now down to a stunning 11,000. It was over 50, just whittling it down every day. They picked up another 1,100 votes yesterday.
It's been called.
Michigan, they're trailing by 145,000.
A stunning 11,000. It's 11,000 people.
In Nevada, 36,000.
I was not stunned.
Pennsylvania, 53,000, and Georgia, 14,000. Kaylee McEnany joins us. She's got a dual role. Here she's on as the Trump.
Oh, she was already smiling when they brought her up. Let's go to the Hannity. Okay, because she was on that last night, I know. If anybody knows what time she was on Dobbs this morning, let me know. Was it yesterday she was on Dobbs? I don't even know. Let's see. Not upcoming. From your library. November 12th. What's today? Okay, so there's the 12th. Friday the 13th. Do we have
from the police?
It's 2:49 here. That means it is 5:49 out on the East Coast. What is our news dump for today? Something usually big happens on a Friday evening. So who's getting fired? Someone mentioned that earlier. Who's Trump going to fire today? The head of something or other. Won't even let me save this. Just save it.
Until we defund the police.
Okay, let's
there you go.
Kelly.
Sean Hannity can explain. Have a great night.
Can you wait? That's what he was talking about, Ron? Is that what you meant? Or maybe you were talking about the partisan observers that were blocked and now...
No, he was talking about gerrymandering. Gerrymandering is a huge problem, and it is. That's how you make sure your Congress goes back. 93% or 97% or whatever happens to be on any given year of incumbents get reelected. That's the way the process works because of gerrymandering. That's what Klain was talking about.
Now signing affidavit after affidavit, or maybe you're talking about state officials changing election laws 2 days before the election, or maybe you're talking about dead people who somehow managed to vote beyond the grave. Now, tonight, many states are getting elections done fairly. They're doing it the right way. The states that aren't are hurting the entire country. You, the American people, deserve better. Joining us now is Kayleigh McEnany is back with us. Kayleigh, welcome back.
There it
Thank
is.
you for being with us.
She did it.
2 nights ago on...
Watch. She doesn't know she's on camera, and then she hears her name.
You're doing it the right way. The states that aren't are hurting the entire country. You, the American people, deserve better. Joining us now is Kayleigh McEnany is back with us. Kayleigh, welcome back. Thank you for being with us. All right, two nights ago on this program, one county in Michigan, you had 234 affidavits. Now, we have this successful lawsuit in Pennsylvania, which, by the way, I didn't think we'd ever lose because you can't change election laws 2 days before. But now you have affidavits from Pennsylvania. Tell us what you have.
Yeah, this is a big deal, Sean. In this country, voting is a fundamental right, and that means that there has to be uniform standards throughout the state of Pennsylvania. But what we saw here, and we have the evidence to prove it, is this. There was one system for Democrat counties. There was another system for Republican counties. You had the courts in Pennsylvania saying there's no way to fix your mail-in ballot in advance, except, as we have now found out, in 7 Democrat counties. We have text messages that I've provided your producer.
By the way, there's no Democrat counties. There's no Republican counties. There's just counties. Each county is purple. That's the way this country works.
Emails that are in our affidavits, sworn, that show that Democrat voters were being contacted, in some cases by Democrat campaigns. And they could have been, it was voters in the Democrat counties that were
Okay, so let's just take a look at this. Hi, this is such and such from State Rep Elizabeth Felder's campaign. I wanted to let you know that we got notice that while you returned your mail-in ballot, it was not able to be processed. You'll need to go to a satellite election office. There, they can print a new ballot for you, and you can fill it out and vote all in one visit. Good. The closest office is South Philly and High School of the Creative and Performing Arts, blah, blah, blah. They're open today and Election Day. We can help arrange a ride for you if you need. If you have any questions or issues, please call us at... That's standard practice. That's what happens in elections. Both parties do it. Nothing wrong with that. Listen to what Kayleigh says here.
Contacted saying your ballot's been canceled, you need to come fix it. Whereas we have other affidavits of people in Republican-leaning counties who say, tonight I voted for 15 years absentee. I went to go turn in my ballot and was informed after the election it was canceled with no opportunity to fix it in advance. This is an equal protection violation. And Sean, let me add one more thing. That's a new part of our file.
No. Let's hold on that and take a look at what's on the screen here. This is the email sent to the voter who says that my vote was canceled. I voted by mail and then it was canceled. Oh my God, how can that be? They're canceling Republican votes for Trump. Let's take a look. Slide it over for you here. Your ballot has been received by Northampton County on this date. That's the mail-in. Your ballot status has been updated to canceled because it cannot be counted due to voting at the polling place. This lady sent in her mail-in ballot and then went to the polling place and voted again. Why would she do that? Because Trump told his people to do that. So then, after the election, they sent her something saying, hey, or after she voted in person, they sent her something back saying, hey, you can't do that. So your ballot's been canceled. It was canceled due to voting. You voted. That's their evidence. That's their evidence that Republicans are somehow being disenfranchised. And the evidence says, hey, you can't vote twice. We've counted you. Your vote, it's canceled due to, this is quotations, due to voting at the polling place. So, good job, Republican in North. That's their evidence. That is the piece of evidence they decided would be the strongest thing to show on the Sean Hannity show. Knowing that most people are just going to hear the words. And so as human beings, when we hear things that scare us, scary things, oh my God, oh, she wasn't allowed to vote, oh, we get enraged, we're scared. Our fight or flight turns on and we just start looking. We don't inspect. This is all about raising money for Trump and the RNC. They've been sending me non-stop. Well, this is not, I don't want to misrepresent. They're not non-stop, but there are a lot of texts and emails saying, hey, we need your money to help us stop election cheating. We need it, right? Please, we're desperate. You need to win the election for us. But as Reuters pointed out, if you read the small print, it says that unless the donation is over $7,000, it's not going towards fighting anything to do with the election. It's being put into the coffers of the RNC and of Trump's super PAC. Actually, I think it's just a PAC. It's not super at all. The super duper PAC is what Trump calls it.
Tonight, it's this, that we believe in the counting process, that ballots without signatures, dates, and addresses.
And the Republican vote was counted. You just showed us that it was. My God, they're stupid. They know, right? Well, actually, I don't think she knows because she has comprehension issues. Sean knows. Sean's a smart cookie. But the people that watch the show, I don't even know if they're cookies.
Addresses, which are required by law, were counted in some Democrat counties, but not in some Republican counties. This would amount to potentially tens of thousands of ballots that were counted improperly, and we must look into this.
Then you have the issue in Georgia where there is a 0.3% margin of...
South Park stuff is very, very protected on the YouTube, and they'll like shut down my broadcast mid-broadcast if I play that, Dr. Leia. But thank you for sharing. She shared the link. If you want to watch it, just go look up South Park. Kyle's mom is a B word. I can say bitch. Why can't I say bad? Why did I stop myself from saying bitch? Kyle's mom is a Mitch. Anyways, Dr. Leia wanted to share that with everybody.
Difference in the vote. It's 0.8% in Pennsylvania, 0.3% in Arizona, 0.6% in Wisconsin, but where there were differing standards for those that, and that's because of a Democratic lawsuit. If you voted in person, you had one signature verification standard. If you voted absentee or mail-in voting, you had a whole different one because the Democrats sued and the Secretary of State went along with this ridiculous agreement.
That is exactly right, Sean. So it was one system of checks and balances there if you vote in person, another one if you vote by mail. And the Secretary of State, Sean, it's so important that your viewers understand how important these local elections are, that we're rigging this from the outset, like Secretary of State in Pennsylvania, who is an avowed anti-Trump leftist. Her Twitter feed says so. And what was she doing in advance? Telling the Supreme Court, we won't count these ballots. We'll put them to the side if they come in 3 days late, then changing her guidance. And today, big victory for the Trump campaign. She was rebuked by a court saying, no, you must listen to the legislature. That's what Article 1, Section 4 of the Constitution requires. These Democrat Secretary of State, Sean, it's a huge problem for this election and elections to come.
Now, all of these affidavits, is there a website for people that really want to see? Again, people are signing them under the threat of perjury, and you're getting hundreds and hundreds of them. Is there a website where people can go and look at them?
Absolutely. You can go on DonaldJTrump.com. They're all public. I'd encourage you to read them. Sean, a read through some of these affidavits. I now have 3 binders,
Wait, hold
most
that
of
up.
which are
Let me see.
affidavits.
Hold that up. What can I say?
Well, I have 3 binders. These are court filings and affidavits, but they're startling, Sean. You get the very clear image of what it was like to be a poll watcher, a Republican poll watcher, who all you want to do is go in and say, watch the count. It's your legal right, but you're shouted down, called the C word, racial slurs used against you, threatened, pushed. This is not the way the democratic process works. These forgotten men and women matter. President Trump's fighting for them.
All right, Kayleigh, it's for the good of our country. We can't have this. All right, Kayleigh, thank you. Tonight, I have a message to the radical socialist Democrats and the media mob and big tech. Be careful for what you have all worked towards and wished for over the last 4 years. What do I mean about this? I've been thinking about this a lot. Now, all of you Democratic socialists, Democratic Party, with the aid of your willing accomplices, all things Democratic socialist, an extension of your press office, the media mob, and your big tech cohorts, may have successful. You may have been able to hide, Joe Biden during this campaign, which I would argue is a massive scandal in its own right. And you
country.
By the way, it was a year before this election, November 4th. Aaron, I have it right here. I'm holding it up. This is the report, why Texas rejected this system. I can't say definitively tonight that happened. I don't know. I could barely download an app. But they rejected it after a thorough investigation. Right. The issue in Michigan needs to be looked into. My question to you is, why not have, so we can instill confidence in people, forensic experts, Republican and Democrat, look at it?
Well, absolutely. We need to make sure we maintain a free and fair election process here in the United States. That's what President Trump has been trying to do the entire way, making sure safeguards are in place and trying to provide more daylight into the election process. While people were trying to stop Republican poll watchers from going in to ensure election integrity, we are standing for more daylight into the election process. The big question here is, why do Democrats want to hide? What are they trying to hide here when we want to make sure that legal votes are counted, that valid votes are counted, and that we maintain a free and fair election system here in the United States? President Trump has been unequivocally clear that Americans who can vote, and should vote once. For Democrats to do anything in any state whatsoever.
Literally told his people to vote twice.
To try and upend an election system and make us not believe the results really undermines democracy. That's why President Trump, our campaign, are fighting these litigation battles to make sure we maintain the greatness of America and the safety of our election process.
All right, Secretary, thank you both. Lieutenant Governor Patrick, thank you, and thank you, Aaron Perini.
Oh, that's Dan Patrick. So we missed a bunch of that. Okay, so I think that's enough for now. That's been more than 2 hours of broadcasting on this, and I want to put some other stuff together, and I've got some other stuff to do. So that's what we'll do. Am I even live? And my neighbors put some fertilizer now. Oh my God. I need a mask. So hey, that's it for now, guys. I don't know. I might be on later tonight. I'm not even sure. Everybody take care of yourselves, and we'll be good and stuff. Okay, bye.